So today I wanted to talk about a couple of things that pilgrims love to argue about.
Buen Camino. Yesterday we made it from Villafranca del Bierzo to O Cebreiro. It was a really lovely hike. The thing about it, it's beautiful and they're pleasant roads, but it has a reputation for being very difficult, and that is because of some very steep hills that go on for kilometer after kilometer. The hike for us, we went all the way, it was 28.4 kilometers, which is quite a long hike. It took us 35,784 steps, and we did it in 7 hours and 10 minutes. It starts out really lovely from Villafranca. There's 5.4 kilometers to Pereje, but there's nothing there. So keep walking another 4.5 miles and you will get to Trabadello. There they have a couple cafes, but no water. Again, when you get 4.3 more kilometers at La Portella, it's an odd little town because it really seems more like a highway rest stop than anything else. There's a big hotel and gas stations and a tienda, and they're all kind of built in together. I think you can buy some local goods there. Once you actually get into the town part though, there is water. And then from here, everything's really close to each other, so it never feels like you're walking too far. There's always a place to rest. In 1 more kilometer, you hit Embasamentes. There's cafe and water. 1.7 more kilometers, you get to Vega de Valcarce. This is a great place to stop. It's very inviting, lots of cafes, lots of water. And as you pass through town, don't forget to look up on the hill to your left because there is the remains of an old castle up there. It's very small, but it's kind of fun to see. After that, you go 2.2 kilometers to Rey Telon, where there was a fountain there. So lots of places to fill up. And if you're going to go all the way to O Cebreiro, you will want to make sure you are full of water because those hills are tiring. But yet, so far we haven't hit any hills. So this is all really easy walking to this point. Finally, at 20.4 kilometers from your start, you hit La Herrerias. This is a place where a lot of people stop actually because they want to be refreshed and ready for the hike up the mountain the next day. We decided we felt really good and we have goals that we were trying to reach, and so we pressed on. You can fill up water there if you're going to continue on. The steep is steep, but the road's not terrible. The thing I will say is, let me go this way a bit to keep the sun out of the camera. It wasn't as bad as we had been hearing. It's hard, of course, because it's kilometers of steep up. But at this point, we've been working our legs pretty hard day after day after day. And probably most people have also. And I think you'll be surprised that it's not as difficult as you might think if you had tried this your first day. You're going to hit 2 towns along the way. They're both super cute and they're both great places to stop and refresh on the way up. They both have cafes, they both have water. And those towns are, let me find them, La Faba at 3.1 kilometers up the hill, and then 2.6 kilometers beyond that is La Laguna. After that, it's not that far. 2.3 more kilometers to O Cebreiro. It's a hard hike, but I think it's a very doable hike. Now, when we got to O Cebreiro, we stayed in Albergueria Frade. It is a gorgeous little place. They have this living room space that is just so well furnished and beautiful and all kinds of woods. We really liked it. Our room itself was 45 euros, and it was, we were supposed to get a private room but shared bath, but I'm not sure what happened. We got an upgrade to a private room with a private bath, and we were very happy about that, of course. The room was cozy and warm. Now it's summer, but it's still a little cool, so we were happy to have all the blankets. The internet is not great in the rooms. And if you need internet, you'd have to go to the public space to get that. The town itself is out of a storybook. It is small, but it is so beautiful. The stone buildings with the thatched roofs are just so charming. We walked around and just took it all in. It was really nice. This place has a pilgrims mass at 7 p.m. I don't know if that's just because we were there on a Sunday or if they do that all the time, but it's something to check out. And there are lots of places to sleep and lots of places to eat. There's also a small market. It doesn't have a lot, but if you need some snacks, you can find those there. For food, we brought breakfast with us in the morning, but we stopped at the last town of La Laguna up the hill for lunch. We had like a beef sandwich and a tortilla de patata. Neither of them were our favorites, but they got us through to O Cebreiro. In O Cebreiro, we had dinner there, and we both got chicken burgers, but we also got beers with that. Rob will put in the total at the bottom. Now, I want to say something about the walk. This is where you enter into Galicia. Just before you get to O Cebreiro, you will pass a marker that tells you that you're now in Galicia. And let me tell you, this is a stunning part of the world. We are so happy to be here. One great thing are the wildflowers. If you come in late spring, early summer, you are going to see more shapes and shades and colors and sizes and variety of flowers than you have ever seen. It is just spectacular. And particularly in this section of Galicia, we are seeing flowers we have never seen before. It is just stunning. Today, I'd like to give a shout out to Treeless. She is a woman who has, well, where did we meet her? We met her at the top of a very hot hill. We were both taking a rest in the shade. Originally, she's from Tanzania, but she is now living in Australia. And she is one of those people who is taking this slow, but without faltering at all. And she knows her pace is slow, and she is fine with that. And she just goes day after day after day, and she is quite an inspiration to many people who meet her and come across her path. We haven't seen her in a few days, so I think we've gotten ahead of her at this point, but great luck to you, Treeless.
Good morning, Buen Camino. It's actually a chilly morning. I had to put on my warm hat, keep my ears warm today. Although I expect it's going to warm up before too long. Sun's just coming up. So today I wanted to talk about a couple of things that pilgrims love to argue about. And these are things where you decide what works for you, and then you're convinced that is the right path. And then people like to argue about it, that their choice is the correct one and other choices are incorrect. It's just sort of an enjoyable part of the Camino where people get passionate about their gear and what works for them. So I thought I'd just go through a couple and maybe demystify it to you a little bit, in the sense that I think online especially, people get so passionate about what they're talking about that they kind of come across pretty rigid and judgy. Whereas in person, when I've talked about any of these things with a real live person on the trail, no one is really like that. Like, the people actually on the Camino are amazing. It's just online, you know, you lose that filter of in-person nuance, and it just always sounds very judgy. So just realize once you get here, people aren't really like that in real life. Anyway, so the first one is a big one, and it's the whole debate over wearing hiking boots or another kind of shoe, the one that I'm wearing and that a lot of people wear, trail runners. So in my opinion, I am firmly in trail runner camp. I think the trail runners are amazing. They are a light shoe, they don't weigh a ton, they give you a lot of flexibility. And for me, the most important thing is they have a very big toe box. I have hiked other hikes. I've hiked, you know, rim to rim on the Grand Canyon twice. And when I wore sneakers once, I ended up losing both my big toenails, my feet. I had so many blisters, like I was beat up. And then the next year we went back and I wore trail runners and didn't have a single problem with my feet, because I have wide feet. And I like having that extra room. Look at a pair of trail runners. Like when you look at shoes, the shoes are not built the way that your feet are built. Most shoes have a pointy toe right in the middle, but that is not how your feet look. It is an aesthetic that has, for whatever reason, developed, and that's how people want their shoes to look, but that's not how your feet look. I like having the trail runners because they match what my feet look like, and they give me that space so I'm not getting a bunch of weird friction on different points in my feet where I'm going to develop a blister. Now, I know that's irony because if you've been watching this, you know I've had a lot of blisters. However, my big blisters came from my sick day when I was shuffling around and walking funny. I've talked a lot about that in other videos. You have to walk your pace, you have to walk normally, or you're going to get blisters. So I do not believe that that blister came from the shoe because I've been wearing the shoe the whole time. My blisters are better. I'm not getting new ones. It just came from me walking funny. Some people might decide to argue that with me. I like the trail runners. They work for me. Hiking boots to me, like if you're going to be rock climbing, then maybe you want hiking boots to give you that extra support. But there are very few days, I think I'm saying this as I'm walking up a hill or down a hill, but there are very few days on the Camino where you're really doing that kind of trekking. A lot of it is flat. And the hiking boots, in my opinion, are just too much shoe. They're going to make your feet sweat. It's just too restrictive for me. And I like hiking boots in the right situations. Now, other people are going to argue. They're like, I wear my hiking boots. I never have a problem. I love them. And if that's the case, great, because it doesn't matter what I think about your shoes. All that matters is that you wear the shoe that works for you. You're going to read a lot of people have very strong opinions. You got to get to know your feet and what kind of shoe is going to work best for you, and then pick that shoe and wear it and be happy about it. Another thing people like to argue about, not to the same extent as the shoe, but is rain poncho versus rain jacket. Like, it's funny to me how people are so passionate about which one of those is the best option. For us, we've talked about this a lot. We've been using rain ponchos for a number of years. I mean, on our entire trip, we have the same ones. We've been using them for a year and a half. It's the Anywho brand. I get them on Amazon. I'll put a link down below if you want to look at it. They are sturdy. They keep me dry in the rain. I've worn them all through Asia where it is hot and wet. They've never soaked through. We both really like them. And what's nice about them on the Camino, so far we've only had one day. We might have another one tomorrow. I'm a little worried about. We're keeping our eye on the forecast. But on that rain day on the Camino, we were able to put that poncho over us, and it covered our bags as well, even with my hiking poles sticking up, and it kept us dry. We weren't too hot, and we had a good experience that way. Other people really believe in having that rain jacket. It's lighter, it's more form-fitting, and then they get a different covering for their bag. That to me just seems kind of fussy. I don't need to do that. And I haven't even really considered getting a rain jacket because I know the poncho works so well for me. It's like that decision has been made. And so I don't need to revisit it. So if you're interested in getting a rain poncho, I'm not the person to explain why it's better, but I'm sure you'll see people talk about it because they really believe in it. And then the third one is hiking poles, whether you need them or not. I think a lot of people on the trail have hiking poles. I was really iffy about it. We went back and forth. We ended up buying one pair in Paris, and we thought, we'll just maybe share it or see how it goes. And then when we got to St. John Pied de Port, we totally buckled and bought another pair. It's $20 for a pair. So we're like, we'll just have them and see what happens. For the most part, I don't like poles. I don't like having anything in my hands when I walk, and dealing with them is just annoying to me. Where I really believe in hiking poles for me is the downhills. We've had several really significant downhills. In fact, we're going to have another big one today that I am not looking forward to. I don't know if I would have been able to make it without the poles. They just save my knees. They make it so I can go much faster, much less effort. It just helps distribute a lot of that effort onto my arms. They give me extra balance. For the downhills, I'm a huge believer. So these poles, probably every video you've watched me, they're, if you can see them back there in my bag, I've been carrying them almost the entire way. because I don't use them except for those couple of downhills. I think we've had 4 so far and another big one today. Just for those days, it's worth it for me to carry them, even though carrying them, like every time I get into an albergue and they're banging around and they're just super annoying and I want to throw them away at every opportunity. But I'm glad I haven't, because they've been really helpful. Now, David will use his a little more than me. He does like them on the uphills, and sometimes he'll even pull them out on a flat area. But there are other people who just use them all the time, no matter what the terrain is, and they just use them all the time and seem to get a lot of benefit out of them. And so it's like your choice. If you think it's going to help give you extra stability, oh, it came up to a road. If you think it's going to give you that extra stability and comfort to have them, then by all means bring them. And don't worry about it. I do recommend getting some heavy duty plastic tips for them, or the rubber tips. Not the ones that necessarily come with them, but you have to get the heavy duty ones so that when you're walking through a town at 6 o'clock in the morning, you're not going clicky clacky and waking everybody up. But when you're out on the trail and whatever, it's just the regular tips. And if you find that helpful, go for it. There's no right answer to any of these things. People like to think, because they know what works for them and they're like, this is the way. There are many ways. You get to do it however you want. I hope you're having a great time planning and getting ready to be here, because it is amazing. We do a video every day of the Camino, and I will put the playlist, if you want to get caught up, right over here.
Today and not tomorrow.